be your safari guide as we venture through the Harambe Wildlife Reserve today. And as we're heading out, there are some things we do have to go over for your safety. Please remember to remain fully seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the truck at all times. Now we already have that final all clear from the warden, which means we are good to get this show on the road. And our first stop here is the Little Aturi Forest. The forest is going to be home to some pretty shy and reclusive animals that tend to be very good at hiding, as they're all amazing camouflagers, and that's going to be their main defense mechanism from predators. Now the first thing here on your right hand side is an okapi. Now many people assume that the okapi are related to zebras because of those beautiful black and white striped legs, but they are actually the only known relative of the giraffe. Now I know that because of the shapes of their skulls and their really long prehensile tongues, and prehensile is just a very fancy scientific word that means finger-like, so they use their tongues as an appendage to grasp and pull leaves off the trees, much like you and I use our hands or fingers. Now also over here on your left-hand side, there are two saddle-billed storks. They get their name from the saddle shape on their bill, and they're going to stand up to about 5 feet tall with wingspans of about 9 feet in length. Now this one a little bit closer to us here is the female. She has bright yellow eyes, whereas the male up on top of the hill there has dark brown eyes. But these two are a mated pair, and once they partner up, they are known to mate for life. Now the okapi there is a great example of a really reclusive animal. They weren't discovered by Western scientists until the year 1901. Prior to that, they were believed to be mythical creatures. Now, if you look way back there on your left-hand side, you'll see the black rhinoceros walking around back there. Now, there's another one laying down just about us here, a little bit closer to us. Now, the black rhino is actually the smaller of the two species that live here on the reserve, but they still weigh up to about 3,000 pounds, if that could ever be considered to be small. And they have a triangular-shaped top lip, which is also that prehensile that we were just talking about with the okapi's tongues. So it's super muscular and going to help them to eat here in the forest, but it's also going to be one of the main differences between them and other rhino species. And here on your right-hand side are a couple different antelopes here. So the lighter gray ones just above the bushes here are the greater kudu, and a little bit further up on the hill there are the bongos. Now these are female greater kudu. Only the males of that species are going to have horns on their head, unlike those bongos up there where both male and females are going to have horns. But those are female bongos as well. The males are a little bit larger and a little bit darker in coloration. But both the greater kudu and the bongos have a striped pattern on their backs, which is going to help them to camouflage with the sunlight coming in through the trees. So lots of really amazing camouflagers here in the forest, but we are now making our way over towards the Safi River Valley. And the Safi River does run through the forest, so we are still going to notice a lot of trees and greenery throughout here. And it's going to be home to some aquatic animals, but also some land animals that like to hang out in and around the water as well. Now here on your right-hand side is a pod of pinkback pelicans. Also, if you look real closely in the corner down there, there are a couple of Nile hippopotamus way over there. I'm hoping there'll be some more up ahead of us. They're a little bit easier to see than those two down there. They're kind of hiding really well. And you can see the pinkback pelicans up there resting on top of a nest that they're building there. Now the pinkback pelicans are going to get that pink coloration in their name more vibrantly during their mating season. The rest of them have sort of a grayish hue. But they also have about a 7 to 9 foot wingspan, just like those saddle-billed storks we saw back in the forest, which is especially impressive when you know that they're one of the smaller pelican species. And 9 feet is about the length of that canopy going across your head, for reference as to just how large that is. They also have some pretty fun hairdos on their heads. They're adorable. And there's some more hippos over here on your left-hand side. Hippos do spend the majority of their life underneath the surface of the water. They're able to hold their breath for about 8 minutes before they come up for air. Now it looks like they're all resting over there, but if you see them moving around in the water, they don't actually swim, but they're going to walk or run along the bottoms of these pools because they're pretty dense. They weigh upwards of about 5,000 pounds, so it's going to use a lot less energy to just sink down to the bottom and walk rather than try to swim. But they are herbivores, meaning they only eat grasses and plants, but despite this, they've got pretty large teeth. Their incisors can grow to be about 18 inches long. They mainly just use those for defense. And as we head over this bridge, hanging out down below us, there are the Nile crocodiles. So we are going to go poly-poly, which means very slowly. Now, the Nile crocodiles are the largest crocodilian species in Africa. They can grow to be about 16 feet long, weighing about 500 pounds. Now, you probably noticed they were all staying pretty still down there. That is how they conserve their energy, and that's going to allow them to go roughly about a week without eating. And that's going to work up a pretty large appetite, as you could imagine. So much so that in a single sitting, they're going to consume about half their body's weight worth of food. And they can weigh up to about 500 pounds, so also pretty impressive. But those crocodiles are what we call opportunistic feeders. So they don't go out hunting, they're just going to feed on whatever's crossing their path at the time. So normally that's fish, things like that. But again, anything that crosses their path like zebras or wildebeest could also become their prey. Alrighty, now as you have to head around this curve, you are going to notice a lot of the trees and greenery starting to thin out, and that is because we are going to make our way down into the savanna. Now, savanna is a pretty large ecosystem teeming with wildlife, so we are going to spend a lot of time here. And first thing on your right-hand side here is a very important part of the savanna ecosystem. This is a baobab tree. Now, you've probably heard the baobab tree referred to as the tree of life. That is a pretty famous nickname it was given due to its incredible ability to hold thousands of gallons of water. And it does that by remaining leafless for about 9 months of the year. So it's going to be a great water source for all the animals out here on the savanna to tap into, especially during their frequent drought periods. So a vital life source, hence the tree of life. But it being leafless for about 9 months of the year also earned it the nickname the upside down tree. And that is because it looks as though they were planted upside down and the roots are growing out of the top of them. Baobab trees do require hundreds of years and a lot of heat to grow to that size. So they really thrive in the savanna ecosystem. The savanna here, also known as the grasslands, is going to be home to some of the most famous animals that live here on the reserve, like zebras, giraffes, elephants, and lions. So we will do our very best to see what we can get our eyes on out here today. And it looks like the first thing you get on the trees here, though, are some Maasai giraffes. Giraffes can grow to be about 18 to 20 feet tall, making them the tallest land animals in the world. And they typically eat for about 16 to 20 hours a day, so along with travel time for them, that's going to leave only about 30 minutes for sleep, which they will do in 5-minute intervals throughout the day. And these are Maasai giraffes, and the easiest way to tell that is by taking a look at their spot patterns. They have more of an irregular spot pattern with rough and rugged edges to each of their spots, whereas reticulated giraffes, which are pictured on that spotting guide way above your head there, they have more straight line edges to their spots that kind of fit together like puzzle pieces. Now we'll see if we can get closer to any of the giraffes as we're making our way throughout the savanna here. Now, laying down here on your left-hand side are the African painted dogs. Now, they're all laying down just behind this tree here, yeah, way in the back. They all have their own spot pattern, which is going to help them to identify each other out in the wild, even from a distance. And I know they're really, really cute, but please don't underestimate them because they're also Africa's most successful hunters. They're going to hunt as a pack and in sort of a tag team effort. They will take turns chasing down their prey until their prey is exhausted. That we're passing by here are called termite mounds. They are mainly made up of termite spit and dirt, and in the sun they can harden to be about as hard as concrete. So a lot of animals out here like to use them as scratching posts. They also serve a pretty important role in the ecosystem. Zebras hanging out just up ahead of us here as well. But we are going to let this giraffe cross the road first. Or get wherever she wants to go. Maybe we're not crossing the road. Alrighty, there we go. Now those zebras over there on your right hand side are Hartman's mountain zebras, and they're the only zebra species to have what is called a dewlap on their necks. And the dewlap is just a little extra piece of skin which aids in blood circulation and helps them to keep cool. And a group of zebras is called a dazzle. Every single zebra has its own individual set of stripes, just like a human fingerprint. But babies are very intelligent and they have the ability to imprint on their mothers at birth, which very simply means they can memorize their mom's stripes in order to pick her out from the herd. And also, if you look real closely up here towards the top of the hill on your right-hand side, there's some much smaller animals up there with that beautiful s'more coloration. Those are the springbok. And they get that name because they can spring about 6 feet straight into the air and also leap about 13 feet forward. And they are the smallest antelope species, but they are among the fastest animals in the world. They can reach speeds of about 55 miles an hour, which is just shy of a cheetah. If you look over on your right hand side as well, there are a couple of wildebeest hanging out over there. Out in the wild, the wildebeest will travel in groups of up to 1.5 million individuals while they make their great migration, during which they're going to travel anywhere from about 500 to 1,000 miles, usually in search of food or water. But we're going to keep on moving here, and these fallen down trees are a great sign of some elephants in the area. Elephants are known as the bulldozers of the savannah, and we're heading over into elephant territory here. They do very closely resemble the shape of the continent of Africa. And they flap those ears against their body because there are a lot of blood vessels in those ears, so that helps them to keep cool. And they can bring their body temperatures down by about 15 degrees just by doing that. Although with a young male elephant there, they tend to be just a little bit more solitary and territorial than the females. So if you see one hanging out by itself, you can usually assume it's a male. Those larger herds are going to be made up of females and their offspring, and they will be led by a matriarch. She's going to be the oldest and wisest female of the group. And she'll start kicking those males out around the age of 15, and they're going to live on their own or in loose bachelor herds for the rest of their lives. Fully grown adult male elephants can weigh up to about 13,000 pounds and can consume about 300 pounds of vegetation in a single day alone. But elephants are also herbivores, and that means that their diet mainly consists of fiber. So there are going to be a lot of touch marks here all along these red clay pits. The elephants snack on this stuff because it serves as sort of a multivitamin for them, and it's that's going to add extra nutrients to their diets. But it's a great time. There's some more elephants in the area as well. So we'll look up ahead of us here to see if we can find any more. I'm seeing a couple of them up here. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a better view. Visible, but this looks like one of them 1,000 pounds, and their name was actually a mistranslation from the Afrikaans word "vite." That means wide and not white, and that's in reference to the shapes of their mouths, which are more of a square and wide shape, which will help them to graze out here in the savannah. Morning or later on in the evening. And if you've ever been lucky enough to hear it, a lion's roar can be heard for up to 5 miles. So that's going to be how they communicate with each other. Also how they let everybody know whose territory they're walking on. But they are becoming a bit of a rare sight to come upon. Unfortunately, in just the last 25 years, we have lost over half the lion population, facing a lot of habitat loss and competition for their natural resources. But the Disney Conservation Fund has started a project called Protect the Pride to try and bring those numbers back up. And you and I can both be part of this, and you can donate any merchandise location in all of Animal Kingdom, and Disney will match a donation $1 for $1, penny for penny, support conservation efforts all around the world.
One of these.